All right, welcome back to It's Time Picks. It is now 2024, the first fight card of the year. It is a fight night card with Magomed Ankalaev and Johnny Walker lead or main event. It is the rematch from October that ended in a no contest. Overall, I mean, it's a 12 fight card. Hopefully, it stays that way. Some decent fights on here, some boring fights on here. Not a terrible way to start off, not the best way to start off, but next week we got a much better card. Um, going into this card, what do you think, Joey?
Like I said, I think this is the warm-up card to get us ready for the next week card of the pay-per-view. Strickland and Duplessis. I think that's going to be the more entertaining card. But hey, it's always one of these unexpected fight night cards that can tend to overperform. Could this be the night? Who knows? But I do see some decent action on the card though.
Yep, I agree. So let's jump right into it. First fight, we got Felipe Bunes or Bunez
102.
going against Joshua Van, and I'll let you start this one off.
So before I found out that this was going to be a short notice for Van, um, originally Boons had an easier matchup. And originally Muniz was supposed to fight Zumagulov, and Van actually stepped in for that, and Van ended up being Zumagulov. Um, I'm really expecting for Van's corner to tell him, look, continue to work on your takedown defense, use your boxing, you can win this fight within maybe inside the distance or even a point decision. But at any point, if Muniz gets him flat on his back, Muniz is the superior grappler. And what is the one way Van has lost? Van's been put to sleep apparently by a choke. As long as I think he can hit and move in this cage, I think Van can win by a decision. So my pick's gonna be Van.
I agree with most of what you said there. I'm on Van as well. I do think that he'll have a massive advantage on the feet. And yes, although Bunes is a better grappler, I don't honestly believe he's that much of a better grappler. And I don't, yeah, I mean, I don't see him being put in a choke. I think if anything, it's going to be some kind of triangle. Um, but I do got Van, and a lot of people were, including myself in his last fight, Van's last fight, saying that in a decision he may not score well. Well, in a decision he scored 105, so I would not put it past him to take down Bunes and absolutely just put up a number. So I love Van in this fight. So both of us going with the now favorite Joshua Van. Next up, we have the newcomer Tom Nolan against Nicholas Mata. And Mata, he's got power. There's no doubt about it. We have seen it. The only problem is he's just not that great of a fighter. He makes bad decisions. He leaves his chin open, and it's just not very good. Tom Nolan, hard to predict how a debut is going to go, but Nolan seems to be really impressive. He's got really, really quick strikes and a lot of power behind him. So I fully expect him to just lay Mata out.
Yeah, that's also my guess. Nolan was very impressive in his Dana White Contenders debut. He is naturally big for this weight class too, so but good thing for him, he has youth behind him and he can continue to grow in this division. Um, I think he does get it done within the first two rounds. I think the first one, it wouldn't shock me by any means if it's more of him, like maybe with a little bit of UFC jitters, maybe having a little bit of feel out. They're both going to stand in the pocket and bang, and that could benefit either side. So if you're on the Mata side, potentially, for an upset, that's more of your, 150 lineups or your GPPs. If you think there's a chance Mata can do it, who knows? Maybe he can crack him on the chin. But I don't like how Mata's been looking the past few fights. He pretty much got dominated by Trey Ogden, even on the feet, and that's not a great look. And I just think within under 1.5, I think Nolan's going to end up going in there and TKO him at some point.
I don't disagree. So both of us going with Tom Nolan, who is also a favorite. And next up, we have Weston Wilson against Jean Silva. And who you got in this one?
I know we talked about it earlier during the day. The only way I see Wilson winning this fight is if John Silva does, like I say, start tend to go slow. Wilson maybe gets the neck, or he even showed against Joanne Brito. He was going for ankle locks and ankle holds, just not successful, and he got knocked out. He gets finished within damn near all his losses. And I'm expecting some point within under 1.5. And again, in this fight, I don't agree with the odds, but oh, excuse me, it's coming getting over getting sick. But I don't agree with the odds in this fight. A guy making his short notice debut, as I told you earlier, was a minus 11 to 1. That's absolutely ridiculous. Don't care who the guy is. Yeah, I gotta go, Gene. I'm gonna try to hope he does start slow and he doesn't pay off his price tag. So for big tournaments, I'm gonna try to stay away from it. Cash games, if, like I said, cash game, you're looking for the safest. I think he is one of the safer plays for cash, as long as you feel comfortable with other plays. Drake's more of the cash guy, but I know usually if you're looking for wins, that's a win you could put in. You just hope he scores good enough. But I'm trying to stay for contest tournaments that I play in and big contests and GPPs, multiple entries. I try to stay away from high target fights like that at times because who knows, maybe I might not pay off. And I just think he's overpriced in this fight.
Yeah, he's. I mean, like you said, he's an 11-1 favorite now in most books, which is just far too high for a debut that we know not a ton about. I mean, he is out of Brazil. Brazil does fight really well in the UFC. There's no doubt about that. He's got a really good corner, a good fight team. Weston Wilson, there's nothing ultra impressive about him. He'll probably be done with the UFC after one more fight, if that. That said, 11-1 and 9,600 on DK is a really hard pill to swallow, but he should win this. It's just a matter of when he wins it.
Yep.
But both of us going with the favorite in Silva. Next up, we have Farid Basharat against Taylor Lapilus. And this is a very interesting fight because Lapilus is definitely a better striker. But then, on the other side of things, you got Basharat, and we don't know any Basharats that don't know how to fight. And for me, that's really all of that it takes. Farid he's slightly worse than his brother, which isn't really saying a lot because Javid is just a beast. But Basharat's got that same wrestling credential, and he suffocates, and he suffocates, and he suffocates, and there's just nothing that you can do once he puts you on the mat. And I fully expect him to just put him down, lay on him, and just torture him on the mat.
So I told you this was one of the fights I was torn on. Um, at first you thought it was the older, bigger brother, and I was like, oh hell no, because it wouldn't even be up for debate. Um, but as I said, if Lapilus can keep it standing, keep it circled, but I just wish he had more volume. If I knew he had more volume, I would actually make him my pick in this fight. Just stop the takedowns, just hit him with 1-2s. I'm slightly on Basharat, just going back to look. If you look at control time, it doesn't need to be, oh, I take you down in control time. In the smaller cage, it would not shock me if he ends up having Lapras on the cage on control time, controlling him just on the cage, working in the cage and takedowns. I don't know if he may not get many, but the ones he does get, I will give Basharat. He is a good controller when he's on the ground. So I think that's probably going to bank him the rounds, but I'm expecting the winner of this fight without a finish, scoring very low. I
I
don't think
disagree.
you think so.
I completely disagree. I think Farid scores over 100 no matter what,
Okay. You
and
know,
he's only 8,900, so
like I said, I had this fight as a fade for me.
nothing wrong with that. But both of us going with Farid Basharat. Next up, we got Marcus McGee against Gaston Bolaños. And I'm actually kind of curious to see where you're at in this one.
I'm actually still torn on this fight. McGee is at the better camp. I think McGee is getting the better looks. Yes, he's training with guys that does have wrestling backgrounds, jiu-jitsu backgrounds, striking backgrounds. Gaston, he's coming from that kickboxing, Muay Thai. Yes, he fought in Bellator for a little bit. Didn't have the raw best success in Bellator. He fought Aaron Phillips, not really UFC caliber, but at least one thing he did show is when he did get taken down, he does find a way to get back up. I think he just needs to keep getting more octagon control time, because he's still fairly new into the whole MMA scene. And I'll say it now, I pick is McGee, but my only worry is a lot of people are saying, oh, if you go to his fights, he has not shown anything or showed any interest of wanting to shoot actual takedowns and go for it. Yes, it showed against Journey. Okay, he's been practicing his jiu-jitsu. That's a great sign. But until you going from in camp practice to actually bringing it into fights, that's my only worry. So if you're telling me you're one of these guys that are going to play those GPP tournaments, Gashin's not a bad choice to have as a $7,100 option because I think he's the better striker. Don't get me wrong. I think McGee can still, get his movement in, maybe try to control it. This is one fight I'm actually considering not to play, depending on if I play McGee. I'm not playing McGee. If you're playing Gashin, I think he's a great option. But until I see what McGee can do if he actually transfers his full game, I'm still going him, but I think I'm actually going to fade McGee in this fight as a DFS pick. But he's my pick just slightly because until I know what he can fully do with his full game, but I don't think Gashin has any takedown defense really at all.
Bolaños.
Yeah.
Lock.
Huh?
Bolaños. Locked.
You locked him in?
Yep.
Ooh.
I will lock him in everywhere.
Okay.
I don't see McGee going for any takedowns because once again, he has still not shown anything like that. And he is still a low-level fighter. He beat Journey Newsom. Okay, he's not that fucking great. Then he knocked out JP Bays, who was absolutely horrendous. And there's just nobody that he has fought. He is still gonna have his cardio issues. And Bolaños is a massive striker. He has 6 knockouts, and some of them have been absolutely brutal. And he will throw and throw and throw, and McGee will not be able to hold, and he won't be able to withstand it. It's going to be a round 1 or early 2 knockout. Bolaños locked in.
Locked in.
Yep.
Okay. I don't hate that. Like I said, GPP option, he's a great option. I just think until I think McGee will have maybe some success on the cage trying to hold him. But like I said, refs sometimes like it, some don't. But I don't think this is a fight I'm targeting. If I'm just saying, hey, if McGee wins, then yeah, I'm not targeting because I don't think he scores over 85 if the fight goes how I'm expecting.
So I will say that if you go to the Tapology votes, 91% of people have winning this fight, and they're all going to look really stupid when Bolaños just bull rushes the shit out of this guy. Calling it. You heard it here.
Hey, I don't hate it because, like I told you, I didn't think the odds were agreeable, but
so we are split on the pick. I have the dog in Bolaños. You've got the favorite in McGee, ever so slightly.
just slightly.
Next up, we have Mr. Semmelsberger and Preston Parsons. And Semmelsberger's taking this on short notice. I don't remember how short a notice it is.
Maybe a couple weeks. I know Preston Parson was actually he was supposed to fight that Basil guy who fought your boy.
Madalena. But yeah, so Semmelsberger is taking this on a short camp. I don't think it matters a whole lot. I would be more worried about the spinning back elbow that he ate against Uros Medic. Anyways, he is the better striker in this matchup. The problem is Parsons is actually really, really good at getting this in fancy ways down to the mat. So I've got Parsons by submission.
So one thing I actually saw about this before I actually say my pick, what would you say Parsons' submission odds is in this fight? Knowing that he's primarily a grappler. Yes, he's the dog. His by submission is at plus 330.
Yeah.
And that's usually bread and butter when he gets it down. So this, like I said, I think this is one of the fights that you got to target. Semmelsberger could either win by knocking Preston Parsons the hell out.
I think Semmelsberger doesn't.
I don't think he does. I don't think he does. Because my pick's Parsons. Yes, our worry about Parsons is his low IQ striking. And yes, he can get hit and he can go night-night. But one thing that Semmelsberger tends to do early, he loads up that hand. And you know what that happens? It leaves opportunities to get his legs taken down.
I don't even think you have to worry about that. Semmelsberger has so if you go back and you look at Semmelsberger's record in the UFC only, he's got 2 knockouts and they were both early. The first one was the chinless Jason Witt. Anybody could knock him out. You could knock him out with a pillow. The next one was Martin Sano.
Yep.
And ever since then, everybody's been waiting for his next knockout punch. The guy does not have power. He really doesn't. It's terrible. So I have no faith in Semmelsberger. Even if he does win, I see him scoring less than 88 points, which is not going to pay off. No. And I think Parsons is by far the better play in this fight.
The one thing I did say I liked about Parsons was there was times in his fights where he did get rocked, but you know what he does when he gets rocked? He goes right to his wrestling, goes right
Like
to his
I mean,
chain.
and he should have won his last fight against
Giles,
Kevin Giles. He won
he
that
gassed
fight.
out late. They said the only reason why he lost that fight really is he gassed out late and Giles had more volume, but barely even that.
So, and there's no shame in getting knocked out by Daniel Rodriguez.
No, not at all.
So, both of us going with the dog in Preston Parsons. Next up, we got Andrei Arlovsky, the ever aging, never ending fighter. He's 44 now. Do you know that?
No, but Jesus.
Against Waldo Cortez Acosta. And I can guess who you have in this fight, but let's hear what you got.
It's the old man, father time himself of Andrea Arlovsky. He's been he's been in UFC since I know I was in middle school, high school, maybe at least. And I actually saw something. I forget who the two fighters. No, it was Josh Van and it was Tom Nolan. They were not even born while Andre was still in the UFC. That's the most craziest thing. Um, but with that being said, I think he's one fight from having the nail in the coffin. And I was like, okay, what could Andre do to maybe let this fight get long? Could he circle in the small cage? Yes. Does he throw leg kicks? He throws leg kicks at times. Are they any type of damage? No. I think Acosta's gonna within this before within the distance, he might knock him out. I think that Bresky fight, he's slowly starting to develop, show his power. And to put the icing on the cake, was it? I saw if you're getting knocked out by
Dantel.
Dante Mays, it's none against Watto. I think Watto's a better athlete. Watto has better boxing. And what he did to Bresky, I know Bresky ain't, the most woo, but he knocked him the hell out. And another thing that wouldn't shock me about this, and I was like, what if he just gets ground and pounded by Cortez and Cortez tries to go for a neck? Andre gives up his neck when he gets hit. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but the odds are probably outrageous if he just covering up and Waldo just goes for the rear naked.
Never know.
I think inside the distance is going to be good in this fight. I don't think this fight goes 3. If it does, it's Waldo just being low volume and maybe having jitters against a legend. But I think Waldo wins this fight with no problem, though.
I don't disagree. I have him as well, and I have zero faith in Arlovsky and his defensive posture that he puts up the entire time. It just gets him killed. So, yeah, there's not much to Arlovsky. And let's say Arlovsky does win this fight, he's going to score 60 in a win. So just don't even play him.
No.
Not worth it.
No.
So both of us going with the favorite in Waldo Cortez Acosta. Next up, we've got a fight that is an absolute must target in Phil Hawes and Bruno Ferreira. Ferreira is a freaking monster. He's a freak of nature. His biggest issues though is cardio, and he's extremely top heavy. He does have grappling. It's just all muscle. We were both on him for his debut, which was an excellent call because he was like 7,100 in that fight, and that scored us some big bucks. And then he came out and he got smacked by Ruzabov, and I believe that Hawes is a better fighter than Ruzabov. Hawes has fought a lot better competition. The only issue with this is that Hawes also has a glass chin. So this fight comes down to whoever lands the first big shot, because both of these guys have gone, I think, 4 between the 2-2 first round knockout losses, and it could easily happen again here. I actually expect it to happen again here. It's just who's going to get it. In this case, I like the range and the height of Hawes. Hopefully, he doesn't do anything stupid because that's what gets him knocked out. But it's a must target. This fight likely ends in the first round, but I'm going with Hawes.
I'm also on Halls. And one recent move of Halls that I do like, he's actually down towards the South Jersey area, training, getting back to his roots of wrestling and grappling with guys with Joe Pfeiffer, Sean Brady, Andre Arlovsky, Jeremiah Wells. He's in that camp of we are grapplers first. So if you're telling me that Phil Halls is going to go in there, hopefully stick to his straight shots and shoot takedowns, he could have this fight over with no problem in round 1. Like I said, Pereira's still powerful as shit. He still has that one touch. You can go to sleep. But I don't think he can be a nail as if Halls is being the hammer. And just a matter of time. And I think Hall's can more, like I said, more likely this fight gets done in round one. But like I said, whoever wins this fight though is gonna look like a -3 to -400. How quick this fight could go.
Definitely. So, like we said, must target for DFS GPV contest.
Yep.
And both of us going with the favorite and Haas. Next up, we have another probably must target fight in Ricky Simone and Mario Bautista. And who you got in this one?
So
I mean,
I almost was trying to look at both sides, but I think Mario Batista's takedown defense is going to be tremendously abused in this fight.
going
And
to get tested. That is for
yes,
damn sure.
and because one thing I'll say about Ricky Simone, he's probably the second best guy in that division with cardio, outside of Marab Dvalishvili, who changed wrestles every damn millisecond of fight. I think Ricky's gonna try to look in for his inside Chris boxing, but he's just gonna change levels quickly after quickly after quickly. And for DFS, if we know for DraftKings, takedowns add up quickly when you continue to get them, and they love control time. And I think Ricky Simone could absolutely win this fight. He doesn't even need a finish. Just potentially, he could finish with 5, 6 takedowns, shitload of control time, and might look like the biggest value on the card.
Yep, 100%. I am also in the same boat.
High
Ricky,
five.
Ricky Shimon should
Woo!
absolutely test and torch the takedown defense of Bautista. There is one thing that I do worry very, very slightly about, and it is him getting his neck snatched because Bautista is a pretty solid grappler. And Simone has been submitted one time, knocked out 3 times. Bautista is definitely the better striker of the two. But yeah, I fully expect Simone just to wrestle fuck him.
Agreed.
Both of us going with Ricky Simone. Next up, we have a battle of old guys. Jim Miller, who's 40, and Gabriel Benitez, who is now 35, which I guess isn't that old, but
Mm.
it just feels old in the UFC now. Um, you know, I told you how I felt about this fight. I honestly don't think that Benitez has. I think he has left less in the tank than Jim Miller does.
Hmm.
Miller has somehow found a bunch of power, and who the hell knows where it came from. But he's now got power on top of his grappling. And, when you put those two together, facing a guy like Benitez, who has shown that his gas tank has completely deteriorated and he just doesn't have a whole lot left, it makes me, want to lock in Miller. Now, Benitez could come out and look like he did against, Ontiveros, but Ontiveros isn't a good fighter by any means. So it's a tough call. I'm still going to go with Miller. I do think that he's going to be the better and more active fighter in this fight, but I wouldn't put it past Benitez to pull something out of the hat and somehow knock Miller out.
I know I told you how I felt about the fight. I know Benitez like recent schedule has been a little bit tougher than Miller, but if you know which Benitez shows up, if it's the Benitez that's going to be fighting Onama like he did in round one, out volume him, and then before he got caught, then Miller could have a problem. But you don't know which Benitez you're going to get. Sometimes he's low volume. Sometimes he doesn't want to throw no kicks and just throw all hands.
He's also got poor takedown defense, so I feel like if Miller gets into trouble, that's what he's going to do is just take him down.
I know he's had a good gym though, AKA. So he's getting the wrestling looks, but I just think how the script is, they want to get Miller on UFC 300,
Mm-hmm.
and they're trying to. I think they're honestly thinking, who is one of the guys that doesn't look like we're trying to throw the tank under the water, but someone that Miller can at least get by, maybe not with too many bumps and scratches, and still try to get him on UFC 300. Yeah, I'm gonna go Jim Miller. I know originally the pick looked like I was gonna go Benavidez because strength of schedule here and there, but there's times where Benavidez doesn't look like he even wants to fight in there. And at least Miller is talking about, hey, I'm looking forward to keep going on with my career. Not as a contender, but like I said, he said he wants to knock off these milestones. He wants to fight UFC 300, and who knows? Maybe that's his last fight. I don't know.
He
But
will. I mean, he fought in UFC 100 and
and
200, so
200.
he's fighting down
Yeah.
there.
As long as he doesn't get like badly hurt in this fight,
Yeah, a
he'll
6 month
he'll get
suspension
there.
will put
Yeah.
that amount. So
But yeah, I'm
both
slightly on Miller.
both of us going with
But
Miller.
without a finish, this fight doesn't pay off.
How much is Miller?
Miller's 82. Like, if you think he does get like
Uh,
a couple takedowns,
if he
maybe, but
scores 90 points, it pays off. So I disagree. Both of us going with the favorite in Jim Miller. Next up, we have the rematch between Mateus Nicolau and Manel Kopp. And let's hear your take on this fight.
so Nicolau beat Cobb. It was a
Did he
close
though?
fight.
Did
Eh,
he though?
I watched it a couple times. First time I said no. Second time I said yes. But like, if I had an argument with 10 people and you told me majorities have Cobb, I wouldn't say you're wrong. But it was a close fight. But one thing I'll say about Nicolau, yes, I think he's had the better schedule than Cobb. Cobb's had like these tune-up type fights. But the last fight, even though I was on Cobb's a younger opponent, it was a hell of a fight. But for the most part, Cobb has been looking like he's going into his rhythm. He's getting some knockouts, he's getting submissions, he's getting wins, he's getting finishes. I think this fight could look very similar than the first time they fought. But like, I was almost torn, like as maybe Nicolau's a dog option because if Cobb doesn't get the finish, he's not paying off 9K. Um, Nicolau at 72, you're not going to need that much. He is low volume, which sucks. But I think most of his, like I said, most of his points you're expecting is him with plenty of control time if he can get it. But I think he'll probably need like 3 takedowns and maybe between like 6, 7 minutes control. Cobb moves. Cobb can get back onto his feet. And anytime you give Cobb the opportunity, he can let his hands fly if he stops showboating. I thought the line was too big, even for the rematch, with how close the fight did play out. I'm still slightly, and I mean this by all means, slightly going Nicolau. I think Nicolau can do a little bit more, even though he just got out of the fight with Royval where he did get knocked out within the first round. I think that he's going to try to get more, observed, make sure, he doesn't get his chin hit. Because if he can close the distance on Cape, I think he can get him down and control him for a little bit.
Okay, I disagree.
Okay.
I think this one goes completely opposite of the first fight. And if you go way back to 2021 when we were first talked about his first fight with Pantoja, one, that's a really good fucking loss now.
Mm-hmm.
But in retrospect, when we were talking about that fight, we were talking about how good Manel Kopp was coming into the UFC. We were super excited for him. Came out and he lost to Pantoja. We were like, okay, well, whatever. He lost his fight. But then he came out and he lost to Nicolau. And we were wondering, okay, so what's the problem with this guy? And he didn't look anything like he had. We made a couple of excuses for him, saying that he had jitters and whatever else. And then he came out and he ran off 4 straight wins, and they've all been relatively impressive wins. He had 2 consecutive first round knockouts, and then they gave him 2 upper opponents, including the last one, and Dos Santos, who was a really impressive fighter. And so now you have Kopp, who has been fighting like he did outside of the UFC, and I think he's going to be way too much for Nicolau to handle. I honestly believe that he can put his lights out in this fight.
I'll say this right now. And originally I was thinking maybe not playing this fight, but the first fight they were so close and everything else. Now this fight's in the smaller octagon. It wouldn't shock me, like I said, if Cabe came out, wild man, could he knock him out? He very much could pay off the tag. If Nicolau can get a takedown, could he be live for a submission? He could be. But I think he's either submission decision, but could he do it? I'm thinking somewhere underneath the 2.5. I think someone could get finished in this fight because if you see how open the flyweight division is, if one of these guys win professionally, they could be the next man up.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You know,
And they're right there.
yep. I
So
think they're gonna have pure violence in this fight.
I don't think Nicolau knows what violence is. He's too boring.
Hey, he looks like a good fighter though.
He is a good fighter. There's nothing
Good
wrong
fighter.
with
He just needs to
he just
get out
he
of that
is
boring title.
he is very, very technical, and he's just not fun to watch. And it's gonna hurt him, just like Ankalaev. That's why he
Yep.
lost the Blachowicz fight that he won. But that's neither here nor there. Next up, well, both of us we are split on that one. You've got
Yep.
Nicolau. Next up is the main event against Ankalaev and Walker. And my take on this has not changed. It is still Ankalaev all day for me. Walker did look okay at the start of their fight, but everything that he hit was actually kind of soft if you go and watch it. And Ankalaev was, kind of dominating him. He had his takedown, and I fully expect that to happen again here. He's going to take him down. He's going to lay on him, and it's going to be a very traditional Ankalaev win.
So I don't know if Ankalaev is going to want to do takedowns every single round. I think he should if he wants to make this fight boring, score well. But if, like I said, Ankalaev's my pick. But if you're playing these big tournaments, don't be shocked if if you want to throw in a couple with Johnny Walker just in case. What do you think about it? It's the big boys. It's 205ers. Anything could happen in 205.
Walker's always live.
Yeah, Walker's always live. Like Jared can tell you, I'm a Walker fan. And I told him beginning of the week, I'm putting my fan bias on the side. And I saw how the first fight went. I'm like, he's not winning this fight. As much as I would love to see Johnny Walker shut me the hell up, and I'll be like, I should have never doubted you. And because I want to see him and Pereira, them two wild guys in the cage. But Pereira will still win. But I still want to see those two crazy son of a bitches in the cage. And now that would be exciting. Not against Ankalaev, he can win. But no one wants to market a boring fighter. It's hard to do. Like, why do you think there wasn't much views for that interim title fight with him and Jan Blachowicz? That was one of the lower viewed damn fucking main events of the year. No one wants to watch it. It was boring. Unless he comes out with a fire under his ass saying, hey, I'm done with this boring shit, which could he very much do? Absolutely, he could. But it's always in that, I'm going to see it when I believe it. But the pick's going to be Ankalaev. I mean, are you going to have people going to have lines with him in it? Yeah. But if it's not going to be a lot of volume, just pure boringness, I don't think he pays off 94. I think he's going to need to finish within the first 3 rounds to even get close to it. But
It's one of those fights that's a really tough call because in 5 rounds, a lot can happen.
yes,
And in 5 rounds, a lot cannot happen. So it's really hard to say.
I'm
I
probably
mean,
not touching it though.
the fight against Blachowicz in a draw, he scored 84. You give him 30 points for a win, and he's over 100.
Yep.
You know, but he's also had a 5 round fight where he scored less than 80. So it's really hard to say. It's a GPP fight for sure. But both of us going with the favorite, Ankalaev, fully expect him to get the job done. Winner of this fight has title implications again. But so yeah, that wraps up this card. Like we said, it's a decent card. It's not
The warm
good,
up card.
not great. It's not bad. It's exactly that. It's a warm up card for next week. Strickland and Duplessis, and then UFC. That 299 and 300 cards are starting to look really, really good. So got a lot to look forward to in the upcoming months. But we're definitely glad that the fights are back. That was a long 3 weeks.
I needed it. I didn't need a break, but I need to come back.
Yeah, no kidding. So like I said, I'm gonna lock in Bolaños. I think he is the far better fighter. And I get that he's a big dog, but that's my lock of the week.
Like I told you, I'm slightly on McGee, and if I need to get down to the Bolaños, I'm not gonna be mad at myself. If I feel like I need to get down to that low salary to pay up for others, I'm not gonna be mad about it.
We
But
locking in.
so, do you want to make our main lock in like almost like a dog play, or you just want to do anybody?
We can do that.
Okay, you want to do a dog play? Okay.
Let's do it.
Mine, I can pick between two because, like, as I told you, these 2 fights we need to target, and I think whoever can get to their overall game plan, it is going to make them look like a 2-1, 3-1 favorite. I'm gonna, honestly go Phil Halls.
Phil
Yeah,
Hawes isn't a dog,
he is a dog.
is he?
Yes, he is.
No, I thought the odds flipped.
I know Ferreira's 8,300, Phil Hall's 79. Last time I saw Ferreira was like minus 130.
Huh? That's silly.
Like I'm talking about the fight with Semmelsberger, Parson, and Halls and Ferreira. The winner of that fight is going to look like a 2 to 3-1 favorite. But it was between Parsons and Halls. I'm going Halls because I hopefully this move to the gym down in South Jersey does give him that. Okay, I know I'm the better athlete. I'm the better fighter, damn near everywhere except for pure power, and I think he could absolutely steamroll Ferreira.
Definitely. All right, well, that wraps up this card. It's definitely great to be back. We can't wait for the fights to be, to get going here again. And we look forward to having another year of this, and I look forward to beating Joey's ass again in picks.
No.
So, as always, we appreciate you watching, and we will catch you next week.